Today's video will be on midpoint and length of a line segment. So the learning goals for today. By the end of the lesson, you'll be able to calculate the midpoint of a line segment when given two pairs of coordinates. And our second learning goal is that you'll be able to calculate the length of a segment that joins two pairs of coordinates. Okay, so some key ideas for you. The midpoint, which we represent with a capital M. So remember, midpoint has to be a capital M because, as we've learned in other videos, gradient is the lowercase m. So capital M is midpoint. So the midpoint of a line segment is the halfway point between two endpoints. So in our example here, we've got two dots. We've got -3, 5, two coordinates, and 8, -1. The M, which is the midpoint, is right in the middle, which is that point there. So the x-coordinate of the midpoint can be calculated by first finding the mean of the two x-coordinates on the endpoints. So we'd have to calculate the average of -3 and 8 to work out what our midpoint x-coordinate is. Similarly, the y-coordinate of the midpoint can be calculated by finding the average of the y-coordinates of the two endpoints, so the average of 5 and -1. So our formula then for midpoint is as below. Midpoint equals x1 plus x2 divided by 2. That will be our first coordinate, and our second coordinate is y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So in this example, x1 would be, so we've got -3 plus 8 divided by 2 would be our first coordinate, and our second coordinate would be 5 plus -1 divided by 2. So you'd work down the page as usual. I don't have enough space. So -3 plus 8 gives us 5 divided by 2 is our x, and our y would be 6 divided by 2. So 2.53. That would be our coordinates there of our midpoint. So our midpoint could be found at those coordinates. Okay, so the length of a line segment. So on the picture here, we've got a line segment here, and if you wanted to calculate the length of it, we can actually use Pythagoras' theorem. So this would give the distance between any 2 points. So the line segment that you're trying to calculate the length of would be the hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse is the longest side of a right angled triangle. So we find the horizontal distance by subtracting, so the horizontal distance is obviously this distance here, by subtracting the lower x-coordinate from the upper x-coordinate. So whatever our upper x-coordinate is would be this one. We subtract the lower x-coordinate from it, and the vertical length, which is this part here, can be found by subtracting the lower y-coordinate, so the smaller one, from the larger one. Okay, so we'll see some of this in action. So we're going to find the midpoint of the line segment joining the following pairs of points. So for A, we want to find the midpoint. So remember, midpoint is m, and then our formula. So x1 plus x2 divided by 2, so our average, and our second point, which is our y value, is y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So we're going to have 1 plus 4 divided by 2, in brackets, and then we're going to have 0 plus 4 divided by 2. So 5 over 2 and 4 over 2. So 5 divided by 2, 2.5, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So for A, our midpoint would be 2.52. So that's where we would find our midpoint for our first set of coordinates. So I'm just going to clear the screen, and we can do B. So for B, we want to find the midpoint again, and we're going to use the same formula. So x1 plus x2 divided by 2, so our average of our x values, and then y1 plus y2 divided by 2, the average of our y values. So our x values, we've got -3 plus 5 divided by 2, and we've got -2 plus 3 divided by 2. So -3 plus 5 is going to give us 2, so we've got 2 divided by 2, and -2 plus 3 is going to give us 1 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. So that would be our coordinates of our midpoint for our second line there. So you could also draw that up and find the middle if you had graph paper handy. Okay, so find the length of the segment joining the two following pairs of points correct to 2 decimal places. So remember, we need to use a little bit of maths here. So we need to the first thing we need to do is find out our length of our other side. So remember, when we're finding the length of a line segment, it's like it's the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is the longest side on a right angle triangle. So this is what we're trying to calculate, which is our line segment. And right now we're trying to calculate the value of this and the value of this. So remember, our horizontal one is our x values and the vertical one is our y values. So to calculate that, we have to do our upper value minus our lower value. So for x, it's our x upper minus our x lower. So for a, our upper x value is obviously 4, so it's going to be 4 subtract negative 2. So 4 subtract negative 2 is the same as 4 plus 2, which is 6. So our horizontal value here would be 6. And then our y is our y upper subtract our y lower. So our upper y value is 2, so 2, and our lower y value is negative 1, so subtract negative 1, which is the same as adding. So 2 take negative 1 is the same as 2 plus 1, which is 3. So that gives us 3 for that one there. So now we can use Pythagoras' theorem to actually calculate the length of that line segment. So c squared, I probably should have labeled this as c actually. So c squared equals a squared plus b squared. And now we've got values for a and b. So we're going to do 3 squared plus 6 squared. So 9 plus 36 is 45. Okay. So c squared equals 45, but we want to find c, so it's going to be the square root of 45. So grab out your calculators if you need to. So I will get that there. So the square root of 45 is 6.708203932499 blah 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 blah. So it says correct to 2 decimal places. So our value is 6.708. So we're going to round that. So 6.708 will be round to 71. So our answer would be C equals 6.71. So the length of our segment is 6.71. Is 6.71 units, whatever the units are. There we go. So we're going to do the same for B. I'm going to clear that screen. So the length between these 2 points, my line may not be going in the right direction. So we've got 3, 0 and 6, 3. 3, 0, 6, 3. We want to find how long that length is. Remember, to do that, we're going to use Pythagoras' theorem. So we want to find C. We need to calculate A and B first. So A would be our upper x minus our lower x. So that's A. So our upper x is 6. Our lower x is 3. So we've got 6 minus 3 equals 3. So in this case, A equals 3. We need to find our B value, which is our y upper minus our y lower. So the upper y value is 3, the lower one is 0, so 3 minus 0 is 3. So B equals B, so that's 3. So then we can use Pythagoras' theorem. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. A squared is 3 squared, B squared is 3 squared as well. So that's 9 plus 9. C squared equals 18, so we have to find the square root of 18. So again, use your calculator. Square root of 18 is 4.24264068, etc., etc., etc. So it says to round to 2 decimal places. So it equals 4.24264. So 242 rounded to 2 decimal places is 24. So therefore, length of segment is 4.24 units. And that would be how you would calculate it. So any questions at all, as usual, please come and see me in class.